And here in Washington, the IMF World Bank meetings wrapped up with one final meeting concerning the long-term growth of developing countries. But one of the signature moments of the last 7 days has been leaders' commitment to greatly reduce poverty in the next 17 years by the year 2013. I had a chance to speak with Denmark's Cooperation and Development Minister and asked about how that goal can be accomplished.
Well, if you take the economic definition, it's when you live with less than $1.25 a day, then you're poor, then you're extreme poor. That will only cater for extremely basic needs, and for many of them, of course, none of the needs that they have. Then you're extremely poor. We still have more than a billion people living there, but the good news is the number has come down. The share of global population living in extreme poverty has been halved already, a big success. And here at the World Bank meetings, we are discussing to set a new vision. A vision to get so that only 3% of all people in the world live in extreme poverty by 2030. Well, there are still a lot of poor people out there, but some countries have done extremely well. China pulling billions or millions and millions of people out of poverty. Other countries coming now. Africa, the fastest growing continent, poverty is on the decline as well. The most severe problems are probably left behind in what you would call the fragile countries. The countries that often have pulled themselves out of conflict and chaos right now. It's the Somalias, the Afghanistans, the South Sudans. There we have a humongous challenge still. But the good news is that even in these countries, we see important steps being taken in building a peace and also building a state and providing social services now, schools coming, health clinics coming, so that people can feel that peace actually builds prosperity for them and their families and their children. And now we need to move on there. Promoting also the private sector. I think a lot of investment opportunities in these countries now for investors all over the world. They should come as well, so we can build peace and prosperity in these countries, because that's where the most extremely poor people in the world, they live. In fragile countries, that's the biggest challenge.
You mentioned the private sector. Obviously, the economy of these countries, the stability of the economy is extremely important when you want to attract the private sector dollars. And we've seen that time and time again with different examples around the world. Tell us about the relationship of poverty versus fragile states.
Well, there you have, as I said, the most extremely poor people. You have enormously high unemployment rates. People have nothing to do. That builds instability, more conflict. So it's a vicious circle. We need to turn it into a positive circle, and it's happening because now the international community is engaging, building the peace, building the states, building the social services, and then we need to build the private sector.
How much of a responsibility does the private sector have?
Well, they have a big responsibility. They benefit from a global community. They should invest in a global community as well. So I think corporate social responsibility is crucial. And more companies show it. They come, they invest, they take care not only of their own company, but also of the communities where they trade, where they produce, where they invest. And that's needed. You know, it's a global partnership, and I think that's the good news. Companies are standing up to this challenge. You know, they recognize we can't just sit and think on our own bottom line. You know, we have to think on the global bottom line as well. And if we do not build stronger communities, we don't get stronger companies. It comes together, and that's what they need to realize, and that's what many of them now do.
What if I'm just an employee of these executives, and I'm just a normal individual working around the world, but they want to help? What resources can you guide them to help?
Well, you can engage in your own communities, you can engage in civil society when you leave your job and go home at night, and then you can push your own company to take a stronger responsibility. And many employees do. They're proud when their companies stand forward. You know, so companies should do it because they help the world. They should also do it because they help themselves. Because when their employees get proud, you can attract better people. You can attract a better qualified workforce, and it's a positive circle of global engagement and building strong communities, as I said, and building stronger companies.
That's a big challenge ahead for the minister.